What's up, guys? My name is Drew, and I am the host of the Hooch Report. This is where I review different types of liquors and alcoholic beverages and give you my take on exactly how I feel about them and whether they're worth your money. On today's episode, I'd like to talk about gins, and the very first gin I'd like to discuss is Yuzu gin. So Yuzu gin comes from a distillery in Japan that was founded in 1834, and their name is Kiyoya Distillery, and if I apologize if I butchered it or butchered the name. However, they've been distilling for about 6 generations now, and they're almost at 200 years. I believe this is their first foray into making gin. They're primarily a sake kind of based distillery. I believe that's where most of their profit comes from. But I just heard that they made this gin and infused it with yuzu, which is a kind of a Japanese type of lemon. I was really excited to try it. Now, the yuzu lemon is very prevalent in Japanese cuisine. It's very expensive, and it looks like a frumpy kind of yellow lemon where the rind and the juice in the lemons is used to cook. The rind is very aromatic and fragrant, and the juice, from what I've read, because I haven't actually had a yuzu lemon yet, it holds its acidity better when it's cooked under high heat than a standard lemon, and it gives that Japanese cuisine a very unique taste that you normally don't find in other places. The fruit is generally very expensive. It's about $25,000 a ton, and it's kind of interesting to me from a horticultural perspective because I really do like growing plants, and I was able to find and purchase 2 yuzu lemon trees, which I plan to plant in the orchard and hopefully have some fruit in maybe 3 years once they mature and grow. That said, I've never had yuzu, and I thought the best way to try it would probably be distilled in a gin. Gin's my favorite kind of alcohol, and it really does impart the taste of the place where the gin was made because all the botanicals are generally different. There's some variation that you normally wouldn't get, versus like a standard Bombay, which is very gin or juniper heavy. With that said, the yuzu gin bottle, I find it aesthetically very pleasing. They have that kind of yuzu yellow text overlaid onto this matte black, almost like ceramic bottle. And something really unique about it is they did put, wax cap on the top. Normally you see that with whiskeys. I've never seen it on a gin. So I think the attention to detail on this bottle is great, and aesthetically, I probably would want to keep this on my shelf. It's a nice piece. I don't know if they intended this, but the wax on top of the bottle is actually kind of frumpy looking, like the yuzu lemon, and I'll have a photo of it so you can actually see what it looks like. But if that is a design choice they did, coming from my design background, I think it's a really nice and subtle one. Another distinction that separates this gin from your standard kind of gins is that the base spirit is made with sweet potato and cane sugar, or it's a neutral cane spirit, so I assume it's cane sugar. If I'm wrong, I'll make a note of it. But basically, gins are normally made like with rye, wheat, potato, even corn. Your standard grain spirits. It's basically is vodka before they add the botanicals, but they use sweet potato here, and I think that's, frankly, I didn't even know you could do it. I knew you could use regular potatoes, but it'd be interesting to see how sweet potato, if it adds a nice smooth body to the gin itself. I have had gins made with cane sugar from Brazil, and I did think the body in that was really nice. And I generally find that the bodies of spirits that aren't grain related, like fruit or sugar, generally, for me, I don't get as bad of a hangover. Could it be all in my head? But my body feels better on them. So with that said, I would really like to get moving and see what's in the bottle. All right, so in opening this bottle, it looks like they have kind of a pull tab in the back. So I will start with that, and we'll see how this goes exactly. So just pull it up and over. I ripped it. Jeez. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get this open. It kind of just split it in half on the top. And then it looks like, the wax just comes off. There's a little foil wrapper on the inside. Not quite sure what that's for. Bit of a bummer that I won't be able to keep it on the bottle, but has a nice little twist top. And whoa. Okay, so initially I haven't even really poured this or smelt it yet, but immediately upon opening it, I get a very strong citrus smell, and it was pleasant, but it was definitely unexpected for it to be that big. So right here I have a little kind of shot glass, but it has an opening on top, so I can actually smell the liquor itself. And let's see. It's, the way I would describe it is, it's almost like a grapefruit and like a tangerine, or maybe like a mandarin, were kind of mixed with the subtleness of a lemon. It's like very fragrant and sweet at the same time, with that kind of sour acidity that you would expect from a lemon. And being as I never had yuzu, if this is what it actually does smell like or imparts onto a liquor, I very much look forward to using it. So I'll take a little sip. Okay, there's not a lot of burn on the alcohol end. It's very smooth and pleasant. I definitely get a little juniper in the front, and then the body, which as it kind of rolls over your tongue, is very much so citrus heavy. But then I get a little bit of that anise licorice taste that gives it a little bit of sweetness. And again, very smooth body. Normally, and I don't think many people disagree, but I don't like drinking gins straight. I mean, I know like you need to take a little sip to actually get the flavor profile, but generally I think they're pretty harsh, and I'm generally a bigger fan of gin and tonics and mixed drinks with them. I know there's some guys with a lot of hair on their chest that only drink gin martinis, just dry. And if this was something you had to drink, it's very enjoyable and be simple enough. It kind of reminds me of a whiskey old fashioned with the lemon rind in it. Obviously, it's not whiskey. The color on the alcohol is completely clear, but it kind of tastes like an old fashioned without having to pay the cost of actually buying an old fashioned. All right, so like I was saying prior to me just having it straight, I'm a guy that really likes gin and tonics, so I thought I'd combine it with one of my favorite tonics, which is Fever Tree. I have the Indian Fever Tree with me right now, but I also really like the Mediterranean. The Indian Fever Tree seems to be more quinine heavy, so a bit more bitter. And I think with the sweetness and basically the aromatic citrus on this gin, it'll complement the bitterness of the quinine better than a little bit sweeter Mediterranean style. So right here, I have my very extravagant Stone Brewery beer glass, and here's my little shot of the gin. I'll pour it in here, and from there, again, Fever Tree, Indian tonic, lovely stuff. Kind of more the more artisanal tonic waters at least when they first came out, versus like, like Schweppes. So let's give it a try. Whoa, okay. So just on the nose of it, especially the carbonation, the citrus definitely carries through. I still get that very strong yuzu fragrance, and combined with the botanicals in the fever tree, it almost accentuates the smell of the yuzu. So I'm very curious to see how it actually tastes. It's very pleasant. It's pretty wild, actually. You don't get any kind of that alcohol kind of undertones. It's very floral, fragrant, and the quinine finishes on the tongue at the very back in a way that it almost feels like the flavor is kind of comes in waves. Initially, you get that kind of sugar from the sugar in the tonic, then it follows by the citrus, and then it hits the quinine that hits in the back of your palate and really rounds and smooths it out. Um, yeah, now I'm having a hard time kind of pulling out anything I dislike about this drink. Is very nice. Even that anise from the gin, it hits really well with that quinine. And overall, I'm very pleased with this gin, and I think it's definitely worth the buy. I guess buyer beware that this was almost an $80 bottle, and really they weren't kidding with yuzu being an expensive ingredient. But I really wanted to start this show with a bang and try something that I found interesting and kind of get my head moving in regards to my own yuzu plants that I will grow or plant in the spring once winter gets through. So overall, I highly recommend it. I will include all the links to the distillery in the description below, and I'll also have kind of my notes there. So if you want to take it, check it out, and buy yourself a bottle. I'll also show you where you can get that in the United States, or at least in California. And thank you for watching.